Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
The sun had barely risen, casting a weak glow through the living room window, when I stood by the doorway, clutching the small bag of things I'd hastily packed. The air was heavy with tension, the kind that presses down until you can barely breathe. Simon stood across from me, his face hard, unreadable. Alana leaned against the wall, arms crossed, a smug smirk creeping onto her lips. So that's it? I managed, my voice barely more than a whisper. You're really doing this? On my birthday? Alana rolled her eyes. Melissa, let's not turn this into some tragic event. Simon's finally doing what he should have done ages ago. I looked to Simon, searching his face for any sign of the son I had raised, the boy who once looked at me with love and warmth. Simon, I pleaded, I'm your mother. I don't deserve this. His expression barely wavered. What you deserve, he said coldly, is a reality check. You've interfered enough, Mom. Alana and we need space. We need you gone. Alana chimed in, her tone laced with contempt. You don't get it, do you, Melissa? You think everything should revolve around you. Newsflash. Simon and I are building a life together, and you're nothing but dead weight. I felt a tear slip down my cheek. Dead weight. Alana, I welcome you into our family. I love you like my own. Maybe that's your problem, she snapped, her voice dripping with disdain. You act like you're some saint, but all you've ever done is meddle. Simon sees it now. He sees how toxic you are. The words sliced into me, each one sharper than the last. I turned to Simon, desperate for him to say something, to defend me, to stand up for the bond we'd shared for so many years. Simon, please, this isn't you. His gaze was icy, his jaw set. Maybe this is who I am now, Mom. You think you know me, but you don't. Not anymore. Alana's right, you're toxic. It's time you leave. My heart shattered, piece by painful piece. I clutched the strap of my bag, forcing myself to stay upright, to not fall apart right there in front of them. So that's it? I whispered, my voice trembling. You're throwing me out like garbage. Alana laughed softly, her eyes glinting with triumph. You can think of it however you want, but yes, it's time for you to go. Simon looked at the floor, avoiding my gaze. Goodbye, Mom. And don't come back. I stumbled out the door, the weight of their rejection pressing down on me, suffocating. I took one last glance at the home I'd once thought would always welcome me and felt the door slam shut behind me, the final blow. And in that moment I realized that everything I believed in, everything I'd held dear, was gone. The night air was cold as I sat on the curb, my fingers numb against the rough concrete, tears blurring the streetlights above. Simon's words replayed in my head, each one sharper than the last. I had never felt so utterly discarded. Melissa. I looked up to see Rosie rushing toward me, her face full of concern. She didn't even hesitate. She pulled me into her arms, wrapping me in the warm scent of her familiar perfume. What happened? She asked, her voice filled with an urgency that brought fresh tears to my eyes. I tried to speak, but the words stuck in my throat. Simon, he told me to leave. On my birthday. My voice cracked, and I felt Rosie stiffen beside me. What? She exclaimed, pulling back to look me in the eyes. Simon? On your birthday? That boy has lost his mind. And that witch, Alana, I bet she had something to do with this. Come to my place, you'll live with me. I'll give you hot tea and cake, said Rosie. A tremor ran through me. Rosie's face was hard, her mouth set in a line I'd only seen when she was truly furious. You know what, Melissa, she continued, her voice low and intense. We're not going to let them get away with this. I shook my head, confused. Rosie, what can I do? I can't just barge back in there. He chose her. Rosie's eyes sparkled with a dangerous glint. Then maybe it's time we remind him of who's really been there for him. Don't let her poison him against you, Melissa. You have to stand up for yourself. But how? I whispered, feeling the helplessness creep back in. Rosie's expression softened for a moment, then hardened again. You deserve better, and we're going to make sure they know that. I'll talk to Stefan. He's good at digging into people's pasts. Maybe there's something about Alana we don't know yet, something that Simon deserves to see. The idea sent a shiver through me, part fear and part something else. Hope, maybe, or defiance. Are you sure? I asked, searching her face. Rosie nodded firmly. If anyone deserves justice, it's you. Trust me, Melissa. Alana is hiding something, and if Simon won't open his eyes on his own, maybe we'll give him a reason to. A flicker of determination sparked in my chest, small but growing. Rosie squeezed my hand, her gaze unwavering. We're not done, Melissa, she said, a fierce promise in her tone. Not by a long shot. Rosie tapped her fingers impatiently on the cafe table, eyes darting to the door. He'll be here soon, she assured me, her voice low but laced with urgency. I took a shaky sip of coffee, barely tasting it. I felt torn between dread and a strange thrill, the weight of what we were about to do pressing on my shoulders. Then the door swung open, and in walked Stefan, Rosie's younger brother, his face set in a serious expression as he made his way toward us. He slid into the seat across from me, assessing me carefully. So I hear you're ready to dig into Alana's past. I nodded, hesitating. I don't want to hurt Simon, but he needs to see her for who she really is. If she's manipulating him, I have to do something. Let's start with the basics, where she's from, who she's been close to, and any signs of trouble before Simon came into the picture. He pulled out a small notepad, already scribbling down details as he spoke. So what do you think we'll find? I asked, feeling a rush of nerves. People like her don't usually change overnight, Stefan replied, his tone dark. If she's deceiving Simon, there'll be a trail of breadcrumbs leading right to her. Rosie, who had been silent until now, leaned forward. I remember hearing something about her ex. What was his name? She looked at Stefan, who flipped through his notes. Eric Baxter, Stefan said, tapping his pen thoughtfully. The guy died under, let's say, suspicious circumstances. I'll check if Alana was ever questioned in connection with his death. A chill ran down my spine as I absorbed this revelation. You think she could have had something to do with it? Stefan shrugged, his expression unreadable. I've seen stranger things, Melissa, and if there's a chance she's hiding something like that, Simon deserves to know. The idea felt almost too dangerous to consider, but I clung to it, the glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, I could free Simon from her web. What should I do? I asked, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. Leave the digging to me, Stefan said firmly. I'll keep you both updated, and Melissa, his gaze softened just a little. Don't lose hope. Sometimes the truth is exactly what people need to wake up. Rosie placed a reassuring hand on my arm, her eyes fierce with determination. We've got your back, Melissa. Simon will see the truth. One way or another. I nodded, feeling a surge of strength. For the first time since my birthday, I felt like I had a fighting chance. The message from Stefan came through late at night. Meet me tomorrow. I found something. My heart pounded as I read it, my mind racing with possibilities. I hadn't been able to sleep since we began this journey, the tension gnawing at me. Now with this message, I felt a mixture of fear and excitement. The next morning, I arrived at the small, dimly lit office Stefan rented for his investigations. He was already at his desk, his laptop open and several documents scattered around him. As I walked in, he looked up, his eyes sharp. I hope you're ready, he said, his voice low. This could change everything. He motioned me over, tapping a photograph on the screen. It showed Alana, much younger, standing next to a man I didn't recognize. Eric Baxter, Stefan explained, his tone grim. Her ex. He didn't just die under suspicious circumstances. He was found dead a few weeks after ending things with her. A chill ran through me. And do the police know? Was she questioned? Stefan nodded, clicking through more images. She was questioned, yes, but there wasn't enough evidence to charge her. But look at this. He pulled out a bank statement, pointing to a suspicious transfer. A week before his death, Eric transferred a large sum to her. No one knows why, and she never explained it. The weight of it pressed on me. So you're saying she could have been involved? Stefan's gaze didn't waver. I can't say for sure, but it's enough to make Simon think twice. If we show him these records, he'll have to question her motives. Rosie, who had joined us, leaned over Stefan's shoulder, her brow furrowed. What if he doesn't believe us? What if he thinks it's all just a trick to turn him against her? I took a shaky breath, my heart racing. We don't have a choice, do we? If we don't tell him, he'll never know. And if she's capable of something like this, she could destroy him too. Stefan glanced at me, his expression softer. We'll do this carefully. I'll gather more records, make sure everything's irrefutable. But Melissa, he looked directly into my eyes, you need to be prepared for any reaction. He might be angry, defensive. It could get messy. I nodded, steeling myself. I'm ready. Whatever it takes to protect Simon from her. As we gathered the documents into a single file, the tension in the room was palpable. I knew that once this evidence was in Simon's hands, everything would change for him, for me, and for all of us. But there was no turning back now. I arrived at Simon's doorstep, my heart pounding, the folder with Alana's records gripped tightly in my hand. I knew this confrontation would be messy, but I had no idea just how much. The moment he opened the door, I could see the exhaustion on his face. For a moment, I hesitated, almost questioning everything, but I pushed forward. Mom, what are you doing here? Simon's voice was cold, defensive. He crossed his arms, blocking my entrance. I need to talk to you, I said, holding up the folder. It's important, Simon. It's about Alana. He sighed, rubbing his temples. Mom, I told you. I love her. I don't care what you think. She's my wife. I could feel my stomach tighten. Just hear me out, please. I opened the folder, showing him the bank records, the photos. This is who Alana is, Simon. She was involved in something dark, something dangerous. Simon stared at the papers, his face unreadable. So you went behind my back and hired someone to dig into my wife's past? Do you know how insane that sounds, Mom? I took a shaky breath. I did it because I care about you, Simon. I don't want you hurt. His jaw clenched. You think this will make me leave her? That I'll suddenly come running back to you? He scoffed, the bitterness in his voice slicing through me. You just can't stand that I chose her over you. My heart sank. Simon, please, I'm trying to protect you. Protect me? He laughed coldly. This is obsession, Mom. This is your vendetta, not mine. Alana told me you'd try something like this. She warned me about how far you'd go to tear us apart. I felt as though the ground had been ripped from beneath me. Simon, you can't believe that. But he shook his head, stepping back and slamming the door. Stay out of my life. The sound of the door shutting reverberated in the cold night air. I stood there frozen, disbelief washing over me. It was only when I felt a tap on my shoulder that I turned, and there was Rosie watching me with a look of pity. I warned you, she whispered. Sometimes they have to learn for themselves. My heart ached, but deep down I knew she was right. Stefan was my only ally, and together, we sifted through any trace of Alana's past, determined to find something that would bring her web of lies crashing down. Late one night, Stefan burst through my door, a file in his hand, his face lit up with a grim satisfaction. Melissa, I found it, he said, laying the folder on the table. Her ex-boyfriend. Suspicious circumstances around his death. They ruled it accidental, but, well, let's just say it wasn't as clear-cut as it seemed. I glanced through the pages, barely able to process the information. The official report on her ex's death was vague, almost as if something had been intentionally omitted. Stefan had unearthed rumors that Alana was the last person seen with him the night he died, whispers that she'd argued with him, and a small but chilling detail. His life insurance had gone to her. She's dangerous, Melissa, Stefan said, his tone grim. We take this to the police. They may have to reopen the case. The next morning, we brought everything we had to the police station. The officer at the desk looked skeptical, but after a hushed conversation with his superior, he nodded. They'd take it seriously. Stefan's evidence had opened a door. The investigation was officially back on. The day of Alana's arrest came as a shock to Simon. He hadn't spoken to me since I'd left his house, and I'd kept my distance, watching silently as my plan unfolded. But when I saw the photos in the news of Alana being led away in handcuffs, her face pale, her composure shattered, I felt a flicker of guilt. Not for her, for Simon, who would soon be faced with the truth. Over the following months, I watched from afar as Simon's life crumbled. Alana's arrest sent him spiraling into financial turmoil. Their joint accounts were frozen, her assets seized as the police combed through every detail of her finances. The trial was excruciating. Witnesses were called to the stand, one after the other. Each testified to Alana's volatile relationships, her ruthlessness, and finally her last encounter with her ex-boyfriend. Friends of the victim recalled Alana's threats against him, her jealousy, her manipulation. Every word drove another nail into her case, painting a portrait of a woman who would stop at nothing to get what she wanted. Simon, pale and visibly shaken, sat in the front row. I saw him flinch at each piece of damning evidence. He looked lost, like a man watching his world collapse brick by brick, yet unwilling to let go of his loyalty to her. Finally, the prosecutor delivered his final blow, a recording of Alana in a moment of frustration, whispering threats to the victim only days before his death. Simon buried his head in his hands, the last fragments of denial shattering. The verdict was swift. Alana was found guilty of murder. I watched as Simon slumped in his seat, broken and betrayed. Simon broke down, sobbing openly in the courtroom. Alana, unflinching, turned to me as she was led away, her eyes full of venom. "This isn't over, Melissa," she hissed. "I'll make you pay." Her words echoed in my mind, chilling me. As I left the courtroom, I felt an unsettling mix of relief and sorrow. Justice had been served. But I knew the pain of losing Alana had wounded Simon deeply. And even though I'd exposed her, I was left to wonder if Simon would ever forgive me for tearing apart the life he thought he had.